doing an artful zoom.
Sorry, do it again.
You've ruined it. No, it's too late now.
Good morning and welcome to the homestead. It's early Saturday morning here. We thought we'd take a few minutes and explain to you what we're doing to the trusty, rusty old Dodge. So those of you who don't know, the Dodge is a 94 Dodge Ram 2500. Has the 5.9 12 valve Cummins and a 5-speed manual transmission. We've done a lot of mechanical work to it. The front end has the free spin hub conversion, the CAD delete. We've really kept up with it mechanically. The body is in pretty rough shape, rust-wise. Well, not really compared to a lot of vehicles that age in Maine, but it needs some love there. Next Tuesday, actually, I'm driving 6 hours to Connecticut and picking up a completely rust-free body, doors, fenders, and hood, everything but the cab, basically. That will give us all new sheet metal that we can then, well, not new, but rust-free, that we can then put a paint job on. And we won't put a $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 paint job on it. We just want it all to be one color. Our goal with this truck really is to have a very sound mechanical truck that we can drive across the country with the camper behind us and just not have to worry about anything. I love the fact that it's purely mechanical. I understand the workings of the engine. We can literally tie the fuel shut-off open with the bungee cord, push it down a hill, let out the clutch, it'll start up and run. It doesn't need any 12-volt power to actually run and move or do anything except for run the lights and radio, things like that. So with that said, the motor has 300,000 miles on it, and we're starting to question things like turbo and things like that. And we did notice that going to Tennessee, we would like just a little bit more power, and it was recommended to us several different things: slightly bigger turbo, a little more fuel, yada yada yada. We settled on a company called Power Driven Diesel. They have a 400 horsepower kit that they recommended for towing. They recommended we bump the timing to 16, 17 degrees. And if we really wanted to replace the turbo, they recommended a different turbo that we'll talk about here in a minute. So one thing that I find is that like information on what to do to one of these engines is all over the place. Everybody has an opinion. Do this, do that, do this, do that. The biggest thing I can suggest is that you find one person, one company, whatever, that you trust. If you're paying somebody to do the work, research it, find somebody that everybody likes, go there, trust them, do what they say, and see what your results are. Don't take a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, a little bit from that person. So that said, that's what we did, is we went with the power-driven diesel system, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff we did while we're in there. So find a home for my coffee for you here. The power-driven diesel kit consists of, probably the biggest thing that sets them apart is this thing they call the AFC Live, which basically allows you to dial a couple things with the fuel. So remembering that this is a purely mechanical truck, you have this thing called an AFC on the injection pump, and that's air fuel control. And what it does is it sort of keeps the engine defueled until it sees boost from the turbo. So as the turbo starts to build boost, it allows you to get a little more fuel. So what this does is it allows two different things. It's got one that is pre-boost fuel, so it's how quick you get your fuel before the boost is built. And then it's got another one that is max fuel at full boost. So like when you're going down the road towing the camper and you got your foot right on the carpet, you're watching your pyrometer, and you're dialing that knob to keep that pyrometer under 12,500 degrees. The other one controls your black smoke, basically. If you take off from the stop sign at zero boost and you see that tons of black smoke, that's because somebody has the pre-boost fuel turned way up. And there's only so much advantage to pre-boost fuel, but that's kind of nice because that lets you tune it on the fly. If you're empty, you can give it a little more fuel. If you're heavy, you can give it a little less. So it comes with that. It comes with new injectors, which are 7x9. 7 is the amount of holes in the nozzle, and 0.9 is the size of the hole. Comes with all the washers and the O-rings and everything you need to replace them. The kit comes with 0.55 delivery valves, which go in the top of the injection pump. And basically what a delivery valve does, if you can picture an injection pump as a piston, it pushes a bunch of fuel out every time it fires that cylinder. The delivery valve limits the amount of fuel that it can push each time it makes that stroke. And then the injector is basically a sealed unit. And when that pressure hits that injector, it pops, sprays, and closes again. So the three work in conjunction together with each other. They do give you the gear puller for your timing gear on the P-pump on the Cummins. They give you the magnetic degree wheel that goes on the P-pump. I elected to purchase the new washer for that and a spare indexing pin for the injection pump. And we'll show you that when we get in there. But on these Cummins, there's a pin on the back of the timing cover. You roll the motor over until the pin falls in the gear. And that means the motor is at top dead center. There's also a pin that looks like this that goes in the injection pump. You take a cap out, you pull it out, turn around, put it in, and it should slide right in. And if that slides in, that means the injection pump is at factory timing, which is, I think in our case, 14 degrees. So then you pop the gear, you roll the motor that like 2 degrees or 3 degrees more timing than you want, and then you lock everything back down. So we'll show you that. The kit does come with the tool. It's a special socket for changing the delivery valves. And then it comes with the parts for the AFC, which is the air fuel control. These two parts together allow it to travel, give you more travel for the spring binds in the AFC. The kit also came with 3,000 to 4,000 RPM governor springs. They were on back order. They're actually on their way here, should be here Monday. That will allow the engine to stay fully fueled until 3,000 or 4,000 RPMs, depending on which kit you put in. We're going to go with the 3,000. We need just a few more RPMs. Basically, right now, with the weak governor springs and a 300,000 mile pump, we start defueling at about 2,200 RPMs, it feels like, under load. And when we go from 4th to 5th gear under load with the camper behind us, the RPMs drop to about 1,000 RPMs in 5th gear, which then is too low, and we just build a ton of heat in the exhaust system. So that kind of covers the power-driven diesel portion of the 400 horse kit. Now, they did recommend that if we were going to do a turbo, because we felt we should do a turbo because we have 300,000 miles on it, and we just want it to be bulletproof. We want to know that we don't have anything under the hood that's going to cause us problems in Virginia, for example, on our trip. So they recommended going with the K27. It's just slightly bigger than the, I think it's HX35 that's on there now. So this is the Borg-Warner K27. It's 100% drop-in, uses the same oil feed, oil drain, uses the same flanges everywhere. So this is a drop-in replacement for the current turbo that's on there. But while we were doing that, the 12-valve Cummins has a notorious issue with the exhaust manifold. It's a one-piece manifold and it tends to shrink over time from all the heat from towing and stuff. So we actually picked up the BD Diesel 3-piece manifold. So this eliminates that problem because that allows that to shrink to its own size. And so we got that. We got all the gaskets for it over there in the box, all the bolts that hold it on over here, everything we need for that. So that allows us to get our pressurized air, headed to the engine. The other thing we did, I don't know if this is valuable or not, but I did a little bit of research, and the 12-valve Cummins is a single air intake, and it's a little bit towards the front of the engine. So in a hard towing application, you get a little bit more boosted air pushed into the front cylinders, and the back cylinders run a little hotter, is what all of my research showed. So Banks Power makes this twin ram intake, which converts that to a dual instead of a single. So this is your intake plate that goes on the Cummins, and currently there's one hole right here for the single intake horn, and this converts it to a dual horn, which helps spread that air out over the whole 6 cylinders a little more evenly. So we went ahead and did that. We've picked up a new pressure feed line for the turbo, for the oil line. Again, ours has 300,000 on it. Not that we're necessarily worried that it's going to fail tomorrow, but it was like 30 or 40, 50 bucks, I can't remember. It seemed like cheap insurance to put it on while we're right there. We've got a new power steering pump and a power steering hose. So the plan that we have is we're going to pull the truck in. We're going to take the nose off the truck. Because remember, I said we're buying some new sheet metal. We're going to take the nose off the truck, and that's going to allow us to get access to do things like this. once it's wide open like that, it's so easy to do all these things. So we're just going to go through it. We're going to have, throw a whole bunch of money at this thing and try to make the ultimate tow rig that will last forever. One of the things that we don't have here that we're going to end up doing is a new clutch. The clutch that's in the truck now currently is a 400 horsepower self-bend clutch. So it is up to the task of all these upgrades. If you don't have a upgraded clutch or an upgraded automatic transmission and you start doing this, you're going to be very disappointed about the first time you step on the go pedal, because things aren't going to work right, or the clutch is going to slip, or the torque converter is going to burn up. So that's a very key thing in these Dodges, is these engines were massively detuned to make the drivetrain stay together. But it's not that big a deal. The clutch kit from Self-Bend, I want to say, is about $1,000 with the flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, everything. So we'll probably do that, and we'll probably rebuild the transmission while we're in there. We've noticed that the synchronizers in the transmission are getting worn out, and sometimes, like when you go into first gear, you can feel it kind of grab. The truck doesn't want to keep going. That's not what I mean. But the gears in the transmission, there's synchronizers in there that have fiber on them that hold a little resistance to get everything. So when you push the clutch, everything stops spinning in the transmission, and you can shift the gears easily. And when that stuff gets worn, it's easier for the transmission to spin than it is for the clutch disc to slip in between the pressure plate and the flywheel. So little things like that we're going to try to go through. The transfer case was new about 100,000 miles ago, so we may actually go through that as well while we get this apart. Again, our goal is to basically build a brand new truck mechanically. Go through it and just not have to worry. And anybody that's gone and looked at the price tag on new trucks knows that you're 80 grand into this to buy a diesel powered truck today, and it's completely computerized. And I don't know about you guys, but a little bit of planning for me, I like this old mechanical stuff. I can work on it. If I'm sitting on the side of I-95 in North Carolina and the truck's not running, it's pretty easy to figure out why for me. Is the fuel is the fuel shutoff being opened? Yes, okay. Then we're not getting fuel. Why aren't we getting fuel? We can hook a 5-gallon bucket up, whatever. We can put an electric pump on the side of the road. There's really not a lot of issues to deal with. Whereas the computerized one, let me get out my Snap-on computer and see what's going wrong. So that's kind of where we're at. We just wanted to give you an update because these parts have been trickling in due to all the supply chain issues that everybody, of course, is probably seeing. Some of these parts have been a little dragging behind. We'll go ahead and when everything gets here, we'll probably get a little video of us going to Connecticut. It's going to be a little bit of a redneck load up coming home. We're going to actually put some wooden pieces in the stake pockets on the truck. We're going to set the new body on top of the old body upside down with the 2 tailgates. We're going to stuff all the other parts in and close the tailgates, put a couple straps on it. We should be good. So that's our plan there. We were going to take the trailer, but the seller says he does this all the time, and there's plenty of room, so it makes a lot of sense not to drag the gooseneck trailer all the way to Connecticut if we don't have to. And when we get back from there, we got the garage clean. We're going to bring the old rusty Dodge in, and we're going to start tearing into it. We're going to get the engine where we want it, get everything done there, and then we probably won't do the transmission or the clutch before we go to Florida for the winter. So you guys will see a lot of video of that. We're actually going to go do a little snowbirding in Florida at a friend's house. He has a camper hookup, and we got to do a little carpentry work on his house while we're there. Go see a few sites in Florida. Just enjoy a month or two in the warm weather. So I think that's about all the rambling I got for now. If you guys have any questions on any of this stuff, I'll try to leave links to all these pieces and parts down in the description below. But if you have any questions or why we chose what we chose, go ahead and ask, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. And we'll, of course, bring you along as we start bolting all this fun stuff on the truck and see, how that process goes. We're probably going to pull the injection pump off. On the 12-valve Cummins, there's a tappet cover, or whatever you want to call it. The lifters are behind this cover on the side of the engine, and the injection pump is right up, almost touching that cover. And it looks to me like it's leaking a little bit on this truck, which is pretty common, 300,000 miles. So I think we're going to actually pull the injection pump off while we have this all apart. Change the gasket and everything on that tappet cover, clean that side of the engine up, and just, again, eliminate any issues. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.